Hello, I'm Arthur Black. Welcome to Weird Homes, a show that looks at the most unusual and bizarre homes in North America. Speaking of which, I want to show you something. Do you know what this is? This is an embalming fluid bottle. Now, can you imagine taking 600,000 of these things and turning it into a home? A very well-preserved home, to be sure. Today, we're going to go into the hearts and the homes of three very resourceful chaps who've created unique digs using everything from beer cans to bottles, even the odd car radiator. Once you've seen these recycled wonders, trash is not going to look the same. Tucked away in secret corners all over North America, you can find homes made out of not your usual brick, steel, pine, or concrete. These amazing houses are made out of trash. And I don't mean shacks and lean-tos. These are extraordinary homes, castles, some of them, and they share one thing in common. They're all constructed out of stuff that usually winds up in the town dump. Take this place, for instance. Now, to find it, you have to travel to the shores of Kootenay Lake in the remote and rugged southeast corner of British Columbia. This one truly is a castle, complete with a bridge and turrets. But it's not your average castle. You see those bricks winking and shining like glass? They are glass. Glass bottles. Empty now, but once they held enough embalming fluid to pickle Godzilla. The man who built this glass menagerie in the early 50s said he did it to, quote, indulge a whim of a peculiar nature. The man with a peculiar nature was David Brown. He built this castle by hand, brick by brick. Make that bottle by bottle. David was working as a mortician in Red Deer, Alberta, when he began to have trouble staying awake on the job. Now, there were no complaints from the funeral home clientele, but David checked it out and it turned out he had a sleeping disorder. His doctor advised him to take early retirement. David agreed to retire, but not to catch up on his sleep. He decided it was time to get to work building his dream home. And as an undertaker, he realized that the ideal construction material was literally in the palm of his hand.
He'd seen these bottles, they're actually all empty embalming fluid bottles thrown out for years. And he thought, darn, what a waste. Why couldn't I use them for something? So he just started saving them, asked all his friends to save them for him after he retired.
Suddenly needing all the empties he could get, David took a part-time job selling embalming fluid to funeral homes right across the country. Carted crates of the stuff from town to town in his 1-ton truck, and he always made a point of picking up the empties. David collected more than 250 tons worth of bottles, and he brought them all here to the shores of Kootenay Lake to build his castle. It took David Brown 3 years of hard labor, but the result was a beauty to behold. Functional, too. The walls of this home are no thicker than the length of a single embalming fluid bottle. Yet architects told David that the air trapped in each bottle provides insulation equivalent to 3.5 feet of fiberglass batting. It only takes this one fireplace to keep the entire castle toasty on the coldest winter day.
It is easy to heat, lovely and cool in the summer, and easy to heat in the winter. So it's a real dual purpose where Dad was saving something thrown out, and then again, it was a practical aspect of it. There's no upkeep on the outside, the insulating factor of them. It was really a goofy but a smart idea.
Little Jack Horner would have trouble sitting in the corner in David's castle. No corners. All the rooms are round.
Well, the house itself is actually built in the shape of a 3-leaf clover. There's a living room on one side, little foyer in the middle, bedroom on this side, and then a kitchen out back to make your clover shape. The rooms are so neat being round. They're very good for conversation. They're homey and cozy. You see everybody in the room. You see who you're talking to. Nobody's hidden in a corner. And they make just a real homey room, that's for sure.
David Brown died in 1970, but son Eldon and his wife Diane live on in the castle that Dad built. Diane admits that she had a lot to learn about living in glass houses.
I had not the faintest idea what I was getting into. The idea of using embalming fluid bottles, of course, that stuck in my mind more than anything. And I had never seen an embalming fluid bottle before, but when I came out here and had a look at the actual structure, and it was just like a glass brick. And it all it kind of made sense when you had a look at the building.
Although initially the concept is often misunderstood, anyone who visits Dave's castle cannot fail to remark on its singular beauty and the magnitude of David's achievement.
We get many people that come through here that knew him in Red Deer and had no idea that he had this part in his personality either, and they're just amazed at what he's done. We have people who are engineers that are amazed at what he's done and the locations that he has some of his walls and his bottles. They're perched out on rocks, and they're amazed that he didn't go to school to learn all of this. But there were so many different areas of this man that I didn't realize when I first started that I've come to appreciate over the years. He was a people person, you know. It's not someone you would have thought of as being eccentric. And I know people look at this and they think, must have been a really eccentric man, but he wasn't. He was a really well-rounded, interesting person to be with, yeah.
Not surprisingly, David Brown's stunning glass castle is a poorly kept secret. In fact, each year it attracts a lot of curiosity seekers who just have to see it to believe it.
So one time he mentioned that to one gentleman, the guy says, well, you just didn't build this, did you? And he says, no, sir. He says, I got stung by one of these Rocky Mountain ticks and I got this fever. And he says, and I just didn't remember anything for 12 years. And one day when I awoke, there I had a brand new wife in this lovely building. The guy believed him. And the funny thing was that Dad would never tell any of us this. And after Dad passed away, here I am at home working, and back comes this same man, and he wouldn't believe anything I told him.
David Brown had a lively and inventive imagination, and not just when it came to building glass castles. He had a good time whether he was bottle laying or leg pulling.
I've got lots of ideas left that were Dad's, that I'll just continue on, keep doing what he wanted, and it'll be my hand in it, but sort of still the same. You know, we've got lots of ideas left. It's just getting that day longer. And me younger, that's the problem now. But we're still having fun with it.
David Brown's Bottle Castle, a tribute to just how creative recycling can get. Embalming fluid bottles were David Brown's construction blocks of choice. John Milkovich preferred containers holding a fluid that, while it couldn't preserve the dead, has been known to pickle the living. John Milkovich was a beer can fan, and he didn't exactly hate the stuff inside the can either. "18 years John put in decorating the outside of this house with more beer cans than you'd find at a frat house party. John passed away back in 1988, but his wife, Mary, still calls it home. She remembers her initial reaction when her husband first shared his frothy fantasy.
Well, I thought he'd fallen off the ladder on his head. I shouldn't say that.
It all began in 1968.
I was working back then, so each day I'd come home, he said he was just going to put a border around the bottom, but the border got bigger and he covered the whole thing, so I think he had that in mind in the first place. He just didn't think I was going to be red hot about having beer cans on the house.
John was red hot about recycling, but about most household chores he was more lukewarm.
He did all the concrete work because he didn't want to cut the grass anymore. And then I think he didn't want to paint the house anymore because he put beer cans on it. Now I've got aluminum siding, and it's great insulation.
Anybody with a hammer and a tack can nail an empty beer can to a wall, but it takes a creative mind to untap the true potential. All told, John Milkovich cut and shaped more than 50,000 tins, crafting everything from customized aluminum siding to one-of-a-kind wind chimes.
He did the wind chimes first. That's what they call them anyways, wind chimes. And they make a little heavier noise than the one on the side. And we got used to it pretty easy.
Like many retirees, John got a little antsy when he got the gold watch from his railway job. First, he tried his hand at entomology, bug collecting. Mary wasn't crazy about having bugs in the house, dead or alive. She canned that hobby, so John turned his attention from bugs to beer.
After he retired, he drank 6 or 8 cans every day just to get the... Of course, he drank the beer, but just to get the cans he wanted. So he said anything that was on special.
A 6-pack a day adds up, especially over 18 years.
Oh, he loved beer. He thought beer cured everything. I think it does a pretty good job. He'd work about 4 hours in the morning on his beer can project, and then he'd come out and sit on the bench on the side that has his name. And then his friends from the neighborhood would come over and they'd swap lies. That's what he called it.
John's neighborhood pals were very supportive, even went so far as to voluntarily empty a few cans just to help him out.
The neighbors, most of them have been our friends for years and years, and they knew my husband real well. They used to come over and sit on the bench with him, and they think it's fine.
John's logger cabin soon drew lots of attention from passers-by, but John never let fame go to his head. As far as he was concerned, he was just doing what came naturally.
He never thought he was an artist. And when people would come by and he'd hear a car screech and back up and look, he just laughed because he thought that was so funny. And he said he wouldn't even go around the block to see the place.
And how does Mary feel about living in a house made of beer cans? Well, long ago, she worked out a deal with John.
I got used to it. So I said, okay, the outside will be yours, the inside will be mine, and so we'll just get along splendidly.
Mary's an avid recycler too, and while she's not generating aluminum at the same rate her husband did, she manages to contribute the odd empty.
Yes, I love beer. I had a good teacher. First, I just take a sip out of his beer, and I finally got so I liked it. So now I drink maybe 1 beer a day, something like that.
Well, at 1 can a day, Mary's unlikely to be adding a new wing to the ale homestead anytime soon, but that's okay. Mary's a keen follower of her husband John's motto, beer, it ever so humble, there's no place like home. To the rolling countryside of rural Washington now for visual proof of the old saying that one man's junk is another man's jewel. Behold, the Junk Castle of Whitman County. The Junk Castle is really a legacy of the 60s. At the time, art teacher Victor Moore was finishing up a master's degree in fine arts.
I had a professor that was very much taken with this, so he said, why don't you finish that up for your thesis, which I did.
For Vic's wife, Bobby, the best thing about watching the building grow was watching the builders.
You should have heard them when they were working out here, Ken, and when they were just beginning and just getting it established. But anyway, they'd put a piece up. Sometimes it wouldn't work. Sometimes it wouldn't work. But when they got just the right piece, they'd stand back and just giggle. It
was serendipity. It just
right.
grew.
Yeah.
I mean, there was no plan.
That's right.
No particular plan. How 60s can you get? According to Vic, the castle was just a product of the times.
It's the art of the 1960s and 70s, and the whole art business was just going crazy. That was the time of the hippies, It was the time of just starting recycling of thrown away materials. We were starting to get some environmental consciousness. I mean, it was an explosion of art ideas, of rebelling against the old tried and true, you know, right after the war and all that. It was fun.
But yours was really, this was no rebellion or anything. It was just a fun thing to do, and a
Yeah.
use of really neat objects of interesting shapes and
Art of assemblage. Well, I don't know what all of these things are, but I can make a guess, and I think that these 3 holes in this piece was probably an old cheap hot plate. It had 3 burners, and you know, and it's a nice textural thing. We were looking for circles that we found in things. This is a bin, a top of an old grain storage bin, this great big one, and the bending or the wash machine with the window down there is another nice circular form. We tried to keep some continuity of all the parts.
Recycling was practically a foreign word in the late 60s, but Vic and Bobby were already hardened veterans. They'd been combing municipal dumps and garbage drop-offs for years and unearthing all kinds of unexpected treasures.
Every bend in a road was a county dump, was a dump. I mean, literally every bend in the road. And so you could just pick up the neatest things, you know, every mile or two, you could just load a truck any time you wanted to go out.
Well, your dump picking goes a lot farther back than
Yeah.
67.
Yeah.
We used to be able to pick the when we moved to Pullman in the early 50s, and in those days the college dump had the most wonderful dump.
Oh, yeah.
They'd have
Microscope
trees.
cases.
Oh yeah, all kinds of
Oh,
stuff.
everything they threw out, oak furniture,
We
when they remodeled. It was good dump picking. The car doors up here, the windows actually roll up and down, or in that case, sideways. That cone up on top of the dome, the spiral, is an inverted bottom of a grain storage in a grain elevator. This piece is just from an old shovel, and you simply cut in the feathers and things. I added the head and the legs, and there you have it as a bird. Makes really a nice form, and it's a good way to recycle again.
Not everyone loved the castle as much as Vic and Bobby Moore. Some of their neighbors thought it looked a lot better when it was a vacant lot. So, why would anybody want to build something like this using only other people's garbage? There's an old saying that beauty is in the eye of the beholder. The same thing applies to junk. As far as Vic and Bobby Moore are concerned, it's the modern attitude to garbage that creates a lot of our problems.
We're a throwaway society.
right,
I mean, we don't repair things anymore.
sinful.
Yeah. I mean, everybody used to have a shoe repair kit in their yard, in their closet. Nobody fixes their shoes anymore, do they? You know, I mean, they fixed everything. Well, you throw it away now.
Not all the locals embraced the Moores and their architectural ideas. Back in the 60s, Vic was branded an anti-American hippie, and the building site was regularly trashed. As far as Vic is concerned, it all has to do with the notion that empty things, whether they're houses, bottles, or tin cans, are worthless.
It's only the emptiness of the void that makes a teacup worthwhile. I mean, if it were solid, what the hell good would it be? You know, it's just, and the same with this. It had no utilitarian value whatsoever, which puts a lot of people in a tizzy when they confront something like that.
This just bothers them. It kind of bothered the farm folk around here.
Yeah.
It was not a popular thing, this castle, but I don't know, through the years, I guess with some of the books, and it was in lots of papers and pictures and
Oh, they've
things.
mellowed.
Well, I guess.
Well,
and then
they-
we outlasted them.
Yeah.
We lived here for 43 years.
For Vic and Bobby, the Junk Castle is a magnificent house, but it isn't exactly home. They live right beside it, in a house made of recycled, but of course, railroad ties.
First and foremost, I'm a poor boy. And I've always been a poor boy. And I taught school.
Depression kids is
Right,
what we are.
depression babies. We had to make do, hand-me-down clothing and all that kind of stuff. And it's just the way, we did long ago when Bobby and I were first married, we decided if we ever are going to have a house, the only way we're ever going to have one is to build one.
But just look at the wonderful shapes around here. I mean, they're just incredibly great.
Well,
Yeah.
they're especially nice when they all get a rust patina. You know, that helps them with a likeness. You know, there's a similarity of color and texture. It's a shame to see these materials not being used again. I mean, these are fine materials, and it makes interesting architecture.
Interesting architecture indeed. And the wonderful thing is that all these architectural marvels, David Brown's Bottle Mansion, John Malkovich's Beer Can Bungalow, and the Junk Castle of Whitman County, they are all made from materials most of us toss in the garbage every day without a second thought. You gotta wonder what makes somebody look at a beer can or a bottle and suddenly envision a medieval castle. I mean, think about it. We're surrounded by potential dream homes. I'm Arthur Black. You've been watching Weird Homes. See you next time.